Welcome to TLC, where we dive into the heart of our local community, its wineries, restaurants, business, and real estate. Hi, I'm your host, Troy Anderson, along with my co-host, Pamela, and we're here to bring you a new perspective on what's happening in our community. This week, we have a special guest, Michael Tenhulzen of Tenhulzen Residential. Welcome to the show, Michael.
Hey, thanks for having me, Troy.
Yeah.
I've seen a few of these, and I'm excited to be part of it.
Cool. Yeah, we want to hear everything about Tenhulzen.
We do indeed, but before we get into that, should we start with our first segment, Sipping on Success?
Oh, I was jumping right ahead. Oh, I'm skipping the wine.
I know, that's not like you.
I know.
I didn't know
All
that
right, open it up and
All
let's
right.
see. All right, what do you have for us this week, Troy?
So I don't think we've had Sparkman on the show before. So we've got a Sparkman, and it's their just kind of run-of-the-mill Cabernet Sauvignon called Holla. Chris Sparkman, I've talked to him a few times. He's from Tennessee, so that's where Holla comes from.
Oh, I wonder what that means. As in
Holla?
holla?
Yeah.
I'm gonna... Mike's
You've
pulling
done this
faces.
before, right?
No, this cork is tough.
Yeah.
Also, I've learned that when you go to Woodinville events, never to chew gum prior because a drive-by wine tasting might,
Just happen.
just happen.
Might just happen, right?
Impromptu.
Yeah.
Yeah, and wine
So-
never tastes great after gum.
No, so my apologies to Chris because
That's like brushing your teeth and then having a glass of orange juice. It's just not great.
It's got an essence of spearmint.
Non-intentional.
exactly.
Palate cleanser.
The other thing is we don't want to offend the French because they always eat food with their wine. So
Oh, for sure. Yeah, we don't have food today. Sorry about that.
No, that's probably just as well. I don't think we'd get much done, to be perfectly honest.
Well, we've talked about French wines, but this is not a French wine show.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Troy. Okay, right, we'll get into the details of this wine in just a second, but first of all, cheers, everybody.
Cheers.
cheers.
Thanks
Happy
for coming
Friday.
on the show. Happy Friday indeed.
Yeah.
All right, so did you pick this one purely because we haven't had a Sparkman wine on here before? What's your intention with this one?
I like Sparkman wines, and we have not had them on the show, so yes, that was my intention.
That was it.
That was
nice
it.
and easy. You're keeping it really short today, aren't you?
Yeah, I don't know. Sparkman's got a great facility over. They took over part of the old Red Hook Brewery over by DeLille, and there's a few other tasting rooms over there. Great events, or just great space in general, but they also have event space in there too.
Yeah.
And they've got windows into the production room, which is
That's always very
which
cool.
is fun.
Can I just point out that you've poured me rather a large pour this week? This is not my usual.
Oh shoot, you got mine.
I've already tried it, so too late.
Well, I saw you last night. You were just going after it. So.
I was. I'm going to preface that comment with we were at a chamber event, so
Yeah.
at Chateau.
Do we need a backup for this? Then? Is that what you're saying?
You never know.
They're all on the shelf over there.
All right, let's reel this back in, shall we?
Sorry, Pamela. I
That's
threw
okay.
you under the bus
All right.
there.
All right.
Yes, exactly. All right, let's talk about the wine for a little bit.
Yeah.
So I've already had a little taste. Let's start with guests first. Mike, what do you think?
I think it tastes like spearmint.
Okay.
That's
right.
your own fault. Well, it's got a great color to it. It's got a little bit more of a bricky color than I would expect for a 2021. So I think the color's great. The taste is good. It's got a little bit.
It's a little bit of a lighter cab.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, and when you're saying the bricky colour, I'm going to put it differently. It's got like that little brown tinge on the outside of it. Not all the way through the glass. It's not like it's, we had that game of is it wine or is it vinegar
Right,
many moons ago. But
With Adam.
Yeah, with Adam Acampora from Woodinville Wine Country. But it's just that slight brown hue on the edge of the glass. I'm looking across here at Mike's glass. There's some legs on that too.
Yeah.
There are.
Yep.
It's got some viscosity, a little bit of a
Viscosity.
alcohol on the
Yeah.
well-rounded.
It's 14.5, so it says.
What does that mean?
It'll get you lit.
Okay.
Pretty average. I mean, but yeah, Sparkman. I mean, I think their winemaker does a really good job of blends with different grapes from around the region. This one happens to be Columbia Valley.
So it's probably a bunch of different vineyards blended into one, different barrels.
Yeah. I agree with Mike though. It is very light on the
Yeah.
palate. I'm trying to identify. This is always the challenge: is trying to identify what we can taste in it, and I'm still not sure what I'm tasting yet. So Troy, other than telling me fruit forward, what you
This one's
tasted?
not fruit forward. It's a little dry and just all the way through. It almost needs.
Went a little deep
right.
with that one.
Yeah. Nurse.
Don't choke.
Okay, pause for
You got to make sure the entire palate,
close.
including the part that
Right down
goes
your
into
The
esophagus.
esophagus, yeah.
Yeah, please don't choke. We've got a great conversation coming, so let's. All right, what are you tasting? So not fruit forward this time.
No, it almost needs a little bit of food with it, I think. We just talked about that.
Every week you mention food.
I know.
You know, we're going to have to do that. We're going to have to bring in something like
See,
a...
the French aren't wrong.
No.
They aren't wrong.
There's some leathery earthiness to this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of grounds you a little bit. I think if we went with something a little bit, to complement this would be probably really good with like a pasta with like mushroom sauce and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Would be a good balance. To
Maybe
that.
this is why it's tasting so good. I just had a sausage and red wine and fennel pappardelle for my lunch that I'd made last
Today?
night. So, yeah, I
Well, hope you brought
it
enough
home.
for everyone.
No, sorry.
What's up?
Hey,
You're holding out on
you
us.
left the office. Too bad.
And these wines tend to open up a little bit and change the complexity over the.
Yeah.
When
And it's a little cold, too.
Yeah.
I like it. It's like I say, I'm struggling to kind of identify flavors in it, but I know I like it, and I guess that's the most important thing.
Yeah, it's a good wine, and moreover, I mean, I would just recommend people visit the tasting room if they haven't been there. It's a great space. We got good outdoor space in the summertime, too.
I think I'm tasting a little bit of citrus in that.
Citrus.
Yeah.
Huh. Not spearmint?
Definitely not
See,
spearmint, no.
it's starting to fade. But
Mike's
there's a
just-
brightness to it, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm meaning by that kind of citrus.
Some
It's
minerality.
bright and- yeah, it's kind of fresh. It's not, definitely not heavy, but light, bright, and cheery.
This would
Yeah.
also go well with like a lamb or something kind of gamey like that.
Yeah. I always come away from the show feeling really hungry.
Again with the food.
Again with the food, yeah.
Well, we had food the one time.
We did, yeah. When
Yeah.
Pizza Coop was on,
Pizza
we had
Coop.
that hamburger pizza and their
Salad was
British-
fantastic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a burrata,
Burrata salad, yeah.
burrata salad, yeah.
Yeah.
But in Woodinville, any winery, any day, you're going to see people sitting out there in the sunshine, when it exists, and just sipping and swirling and
Yeah.
enjoying, because there's lots of great stuff out there.
Okay, so I want to
For
come
sure.
back to something real quick. You said you tasted leather, or did you mention tobacco?
Earthiness, yeah.
Yeah. So I can't taste it, but I can smell it. So if you give it a little snifter, can you smell the tobacco in that,
A little bit.
or is it just me? Awkward pauses on there while we
Oh,
put
yeah,
our
yeah.
nose in our glasses.
I got to remember what tobacco smells like.
Yeah, I guess. Well,
I
think
used to smoke for
cigars.
15
Yeah.
years.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Cool.
It's a terrible habit.
Yes, it is. All right, well, that's another great bottle of wine, Troy. I always feel very blessed that, I get to come into work and drink wine. I mean, how many people can say that?
Yeah, it's good.
Exactly.
2 days in a row.
Yeah, thanks
And
for
we
sharing.
actually get some work done, too.
Right?
And we get work done too.
Yeah.
All right, well, unless anybody's got anything else to say about this delicious wine from Sparkman, I think we'll take a really quick break. And when we come back, we're going to jump into all things with Mike.
Sounds fantastic.
Where do I get my first case?
Speak to Troy.
Okay.
I'll drop it off your car there.
All right, stay tuned. We'll be right back after this
See you in a
really
minute.
short break.
This podcast is brought to you by Northwest Spirits.
Are you looking for a real estate company that truly cares about the community and has a wealth of experience in the local market? Look no further than Tend Home Team. With over 20 years of experience here in the Pacific Northwest, we know the ins and outs of the real estate market like the back of our hand. Whether you're buying or selling a home, our team of experts is here to guide you every step of the way. And best of all, we make the process fun and stress-free. We love getting to know our clients and helping them find their dream home or sell their property quickly and easily. So if you want a real estate company that's truly focused on you and your needs, choose Tend Home Team. We can't wait to work with you. Contact us at tendhometeam.com or 206-504-3660.
Welcome back to TLC 10 Life Community Podcast. And we're going to jump into all things Tenhulzen with Michael Tenhulzen, who happens to be a CGR CAPS, which is a certified graduate remodeler, and certified aging in place specialist. And so, Mike, I've known about your company in the community for some time, but listeners may not have heard of you. What kinds of services does Tenhulzen Residential provide, and what was kind of some of the inspiration? How do you get into the business?
Well, a lot of people have been asking me that. I've had numerous. There are people that
Hopefully in
say,
a good way.
"I see you all
What
over."
were you thinking?
What do you do? I mean, how do you do this? And residential remodeling is probably one of the most difficult, endeavors you could get into. You're into people's homes, and it's very personal. Everybody has a different perspective of what they think they want, and then whether or not you deliver is a different expectation as well. And it's getting more and more difficult as HGTV and this whole
For sure.
and people want it now. And if you don't respond within a text in 5 minutes, you don't exist anymore. That kind of it just so it's really changed. But when I first got involved was actually back in 8th grade. My dad started.
Young.
Yeah, right.
Isn't there child laws against that?
Well, my dad started the company, and I never saw him. He was up before I got to school, and he came home after I went to bed. So he was just workaholic, training in the afternoons, taking business classes and everything. And so I thought, well, this would be a great way to get to know my dad a little bit more, is to just go be a gopher, sit on the bucket and listen and learn. So I started out as a carpenter. I was working in the high school in the summer times, and kind of worked my way up through the company. And it wasn't until I got it to went through sales, production management, did all these different things, and got to know every aspect of it. And it wasn't until I started realizing that as a general manager, my dad was the president, and he was telecommuting a lot. And I was like, what am I paying his salary for? It's his company, but I could do a lot more with this, and I'm already doing about 95% of it. So I made an offer, and we closed a deal in 2008. And so I ended up buying the company, and then, of course, the economy changed.
2008 was a great time.
I know. I feel I've got the theme music to Succession going in the background there.
Yeah, my hair wasn't always great.
I used to have hair.
You have hair. It's just white hair.
Yeah, well, there's not much of it left.
So, it's been a big learning curve on owning and being that responsible party, and the banking relationships, and the customer churn, and making sure that you have your book of business, and you rely heavily on repeat and referral. So we've evolved into being a little different than most contractors. One thing I've noticed in just being around it for so long is that every contractor does it differently. There could be 50 different remodeling contractors in Woodinville. None of them do it the same. It'd be like as different as there are shirts on the rack. That from the initial call through the budgeting, through the production, everything is different. I saw that as an opportunity, and we have made a very conscious effort to go through all of our design parameters during the development phase, pick out everything, and actually produce it in a script that we can follow. So we're producing a script that we can then perform to.
Well, I just referred you to a client of mine that's thinking about doing some work, and the way your process was fantastic. It was very clear.
And to keep that expectation management is really what it's all about. If somebody says, I need it done by this time, and I want it done by this price, there are a lot of contractors that can make that happen, but it's forecasting with experience and saying, with the changes you're making now in design, it's going to change the duration and the scope and the cost.
Right.
Here's what that impact is. If you're authorizing us to move in that direction, let's do that. But if not, we're going to stay with where we are. And it's also a very service-oriented business as well. We don't focus in on elements of it, like if you're buying a car, right? You're looking at how much for the leather seats, how much for the sunroof, the CD player, whatever those the technology's changed.
CD player. Do they make CD players anymore, Mike?
Just to check, just make sure you're listening.
Or age yourself, one of the two.
Right. So we don't look at it like that though, because every change you make, if you want to change add a sunroof in a home and add a skylight or something, there's a lot of stuff that's involved.
You go back to engineering and
You're cutting in, you're changing the structure, insulation values, all those things, and then drywall paint. And when people talk about like a kitchen remodel, a lot of people are thinking still that the $60,000 to $80,000 budget is going to cover their kitchen remodel. And that probably would have been a good budget back in the mid to late 90s, but things have evolved, changed, cost of living, cost of materials.
appliances just in general are so much more money now.
And it's amazing, to educate people through this process, and you go, that kitchen you're talking about, when it affects the floors, the walls, the ceiling, the paint, the electrical, you got to upgrade certain things and tile that together. They're upwards of $200,000 now.
Right.
And it just like,
And to be clear, you're not talking about just switching out the cabinets for a new one to, you're talking about completely changing the scope of the space that
most
people are
cases,
using,
yeah, builder, architect, design, when the house was built, 70s, 80s, 90s are most of what we work on. When that house was built, they didn't have a lot of that forethought for efficiency, for layout. And a lot of times you just look at it and, like, we've been in homes where it's obvious that they forgot about the laundry room, and so they packed it underneath the stairs next to the kitchen.
Yeah. Right.
So,
Not the most ideal space to do
Or in the
your laundry
garage.
in.
I mean, there's a lot of houses where it's just in the garage.
That's yeah, I mean, being like not from America originally, watching movies, and the garages was always where the washing machine and the tumble dryer was. Like, that's odd.
right.
But now we have them in homes, which is great.
Yeah, so I mean that's a lot. You touched on it a little bit, but what are some of the things? There's a lot of remodeling companies out there, like you said, and they all do it differently. What's dive into a little more. What sets you guys apart?
Well, like we set up the script, and I actually went to all of our staff and I said, look, I've gone back and I've talked to the last 20 of our ideal customers. I said, what is it that makes you select our company? Why do you think that the Tenhulzen is going to be the best solution? And what kept you coming back for multiple projects?
Yeah.
And largely they would say, and when you boil everything down, it was you do what you say you're going to do. I said, okay, well, if I take that a step further, it's performance. And if we're here to perform, then with cameras and all that in their homes, we should be on stage, right?
Yeah.
So now we're performers.
Curtains up.
And our guys are looking at me like, you want me to do what? I'm not even a thespian. What are you talking about? So
We don't need you to sing and dance. We just need you to do a good job.
So it all started with performance and the realization that if we can deliver on this performance aspect, then we can build a marketing brand around it.
Yeah.
So I'm the director. Our salespeople, I've got two of them, they're executive producers. And then we go down through all of the different layers of how you develop a movie, basically, or a production play, a big, script, and all the little pieces that go into that. I watched a movie one time. It was The Aviator. You guys see that one? So in the beginning of that movie, the spruce goose and all that stuff at the end, but in the very beginning, he was trying to produce a movie. And he had airplanes flying through and cars and stuff, and he was like, cut.
I remember that. Yeah.
And what I realized was there was very little preparation. He was just kind of like, make it happen. We want to make it, flow, and then nothing happened.
That's
the way it
how
was
most
supposed to.
contractors are. Just get in there and wing it.
Yeah.
Tear it up and yeah.
Right. And I'm thinking, well, I've never been trained to wait until framing is done, drywall starting, and go, okay, Mrs. Jones, what kind of cabinets do you want? I mean, those decisions need to be made 6 months prior.
Right.
On a larger scale project like that. So I'm watching this movie and I'm thinking, there's got to be a better way to this. We've got to be able to put all that stuff together, kind of have that aha moment. And now in our conference room we have directors' chairs, which all have different titles on them. So our customers.
Wow, you're serious about this.
Oh yeah.
I think we need a field trip to their
I
office so we
know.
can take some.
It's fun.
Take
and
a look.
when we're done with the project, we roll out the red carpet and we pour a glass of wine and we invite the neighbors and
Okay.
and other prospects and past clients and do a little mixer. There's the contract. I could get into a lot of details, but we basically just turned our company upside down. And I said, field staff, you guys are on stage. And they said, for about 4 months, they're like, okay, we're on stage. What? The office isn't doing anything, So I'm kind of telling the story out of order, but they're like, we're at a company meeting, and they said, well, what about the office? What are they going to do?
They're writing the script, right?
Yeah, and I said, okay, that's it. So I changed all the job descriptions throughout, and everybody's part of this. So it's fun. I mean, people don't often get it; they're not making the connection. And I've actually talked to a couple of people who are from the movie industry, and they're looking at this going,
That's not how it's done.
yeah, it's a chaotic mess. I don't think you want to be aligned with that. And I'm thinking, well, at least we're planning everything in advance. But
Yeah, but you're adding an element of fun, and I think accessibility to people. They can understand that, okay, it's, you've got to have all your ducks in a row, or all your beams, or whatever you want to call them, all in a row before you even set foot in somebody's house to start demolishing something, right?
well, ideally, what let's say the countertops, the cabinets, the sinks, the lighting, all that stuff. If you find a tile that is 12 weeks out, it's good to know that, because once you sign the contract, you order that tile, you can then produce your entire schedule around that one piece and slide it accordingly.
Yeah, or rather than like wait till the last minute, go find a tile and then find it's either gone.
Yeah, then you have an upset client because it's not their whatever they needed wasn't available, so they had to settle for plan B.
Right. And that does happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From the time you select something to the time you purchase it.
Yeah, and I'm
discontinue
sure
item.
it's a very emotional experience for people too. You know, it's their home, it's where they live. They want that first thing that they, you know, fell in love with, and when they can't get it, then, you know, it's upsetting.
It is.
I think the biggest complaint I get from people about contractors is communication. It's like I don't hear from them. They don't know me. I don't know what's going on. So then they kind of get off the rails and build this story in their head that is not necessarily true or blown out of proportion. So.
Yeah. Or they say they'll do a job and then they don't turn up. I've had that happen.
Oh, that happens a lot.
I know. We ripped all of our flooring out waiting for somebody to come tile and it never showed.
Oh, no.
My poor husband had to do it. Took months. Yeah. Anyway. All right. So
You're still married though, right?
Yes. Yes. Kind of touched on, you know, your whole process with homeowners wanting to do the remodels, but I want to take it back a little bit to that decision to remodel. And obviously homeowners they quite often grapple with the decision, do they move or do they remodel? And so, and I would think it's true to say even more so now that interest rates are at a level that we haven't seen for 22 years, and that, you know, that it's, do I foray into that, or do I make my home exactly what I want it to be? You know, so what are some of the opinions or key factors that you think people should consider when deciding to remodel their current home?
Yeah, and this move versus remodel idea has been around since, I don't know.
Yeah,
since
and I know
homes were
Troy's going to
invented.
have some things to say about this too. So
I'm sure cavemen were like, do I stay in this cave or do I move to that one? No. So it's not uncommon. The question becomes, if I'm going to invest in my home, at what point do I have a diminishing return on the investment?
That's what, overbuilding or?
Yeah. So if I live in a house that, let's say it's, you know, in a neighborhood of $1 million homes, and maybe mine's, you know, worth $950. I've got $50,000 worth of capacity that I could do, you know, to break even. But if you're looking at doing a kitchen, you know, if you're 200,000 into it, that extra 150 that you're now overbuilding is either going to be something that you do for yourself and you enjoy over the course of your life, or you're going to flip and hope somebody else likes it. We tend to work with people who are going to stay in their homes for the next 10 to 15 years.
Yeah.
You know, barring any moves, you know, with work and whatnot. But, you know, once people identify that they want to invest in their homes, it's not going to be that, we're not really overbuilding homes. We're actually making them make more sense in many cases.
Yeah.
Whether it's an addition, crawl space conversion. Those are.
What now?
I can get into that now. A lot of homes are built on steeper slopes, and the
Okay.
builder will use a two-story floor plan, and then this crawl space might have 8, 10, 12, 14-foot ceilings.
Oh.
And so creating a stairway down into that, making it a living space, separate conditioned, ejector pump out. And
He said crawl space, I just thought spiders.
Yeah. No, it starts with spiders and ends up with living space. Yeah.
or creeps, you know,
Yeah.
those little kids that run around now. So, you know, we've done a lot of these projects that overbuild the neighborhood, but yet add the value back in. So even when they go to sell, if it's done properly, if it's done, you know, with mechanical, what do you call it? It's like ergonomic, you know, how we move through spaces.
Yeah.
That people will actually appreciate that and pay a higher value than the neighbor next door with maybe the same listing.
Yeah, no, I find that to be true for sure. I mean, people are looking for, people in the marketplace, especially today, are looking for move-in ready. They don't want a project. And if they do take on a project, they want a super discount on it.
Right. And there's a change that's happening. Also, we've been watching this for the last 20 years with the, you know, you've got your boomers. I'm Gen X.
Me too.
Millennials, and now this whole other generation's kind of coming up, and whether they're able to afford housing is kind of a big question, and then what are their buying habits and what do they appreciate? And I know a lot of them do not want to get into a project where they have to manage it, or just they don't want the stress. So having something that's done brings a lot of value to that.
Yeah, well, we find that, especially, you know, when we have houses on the market where when it's done and done well, it's more desirable, right?
Yeah, and I'd say, I mean, we do a lot of paint and carpet type renovations to just make it more appealing. But, you know, some of those houses needed kitchens, but we didn't do it because it was either overbuilt or the client didn't have the capacity or time.
Well, you never know who's going to buy it either.
Yeah.
There may be somebody that comes in and says, I want to do a French country kitchen. I've always wanted to do that. I've
Right.
never found it. I don't care. Whatever kitchen it is, I'm going to tear it out anyway.
But I guess that comes back to your point again about it depends on how long you're going to stay in that property for, is whether you invest heavily on what you really want or whether you make it more kind of, I don't know what word is I'm looking for, but more kind of, not ordinary, but that would appeal to the masses, I guess is what I'm saying, rather than that French country or the ultra modern or
And that's
the,
a tough one too. Appeal to the masses it's a bit of a trap. I know I'm gonna go anti-realtor here for just a second.
You
so
go
please
right
take your
ahead.
headset off.
There's the door.
Yeah, right? No, but
You
I
go
mean,
ahead, this will be fun.
for decades, realtors would encourage their customers to just paint everything white, make it all neutral, you know, update your home in the neutralist way so people could come in and they can, you know, see it as a blank palette.
Yeah.
We took the opposite. We would encourage people to put in the red, you know, make sure you have that purple wall in that other room and do all this. Make it personal.
Troy's like,
Because when people walk in, they're like, okay, you know, 10 people are going to hate it, but one's going to love it.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be this, you know,
Yeah.
now I got to go through and...
I can see both sides of this argument, right? So I can see the doing what you love because you're paying for it and you live with it, and it could have that wow factor. And then I know we've had this conversation before. It's like if you do it in kind of neutral tones or neutral aesthetic, it will appeal to the masses if you like. But not everybody has that capability to put their own stamp on it and envision what it could be.
Oh, yeah. There's a very small population that can envision what you're talking about.
Yeah, and I'd say the last 10 years we've done grayish, you know, gray beige, like our office is painted here. But
I don't like grayish.
we're moving more into beige and warm tones.
don't
I don't like this
Beige
paint.
either.
I think I will take you up on your offer and find the door. Thank you very much. Do you have any dark glasses, perhaps?
I think if you're going to do grey, you know.
Yeah.
Not that.
I like accent walls, and I like filling in spaces with color with accessories.
Yeah, and you'll see trends too. Like for a while there, we produce a lot of larger projects. We go into awards with them, and for like a 2-year period, I think it was 2019, 2020, the Blue Island
Oh yeah,
was a big thing.
The
Yeah.
navy blue?
It's a darker blue, yeah, royal navy.
like a royal blue.
Okay.
And we thought we're going to do great on this kitchen because it was white perimeter, white tile, subway stuff, and it was really cool. And then this big blue island. There were 4 others like it in the competition.
Oh, no.
And all the judges must have just been pulling their hair out like what's going on?
Great.
It's almost like you all show up at a party and everybody's wearing the same clothes. You're like,
Yeah.
So, but there are trends like that, and they'll come and go. I think the point is to make it a timeless design where, you know, even if you thought the 70s was a timeless design and shag carpet would never come back, it's somehow found its way.
Yeah.
So for the masses, I guess was the question you kind of brought up was, you know, how do you market your home, whether you're going to be fixing it up for resale or preparing it for yourself to be a timeless, investment that would be
Right.
holding its value at a future date. And there's a wide spectrum. And as a design build firm, we have designers on staff. Our designers oftentimes will push back a little bit. They'll say, look, you've signed our design agreement. You've given me permission to operate within this sandbox. And the suggestion you're making right now doesn't really fit that. So nice idea, but it's not either going to be something that people are going to like in the future, or it's not going to function the way you think it will, or whatever it is. And there's a lot of solutions like that. It could be a type of lighting. It could be the way their cabinets are laid out. It could be,
But I want a built-in blender in my counter.
right. Or I want to put a spiral stairway up to my. It's like, well, how are you going to get the furniture there? There's these great ideas, or I want Ipe decking, because my friends have it. Well, yeah, but.
I kind of like the idea that your staff don't just say, yeah, we'll do anything. Because at the end of the day, it's your name that's on that design and that build. And so there's that integrity factor of like, okay, the homeowner may not like that initial conversation of, no, I don't think that's a good idea. But at the end of the day, you're sticking to, you as the expert in the room, right? It's like, okay.
Right. We have to take into account the budget, and the construction budget has been established. There's a real expectation there. And it's somewhere between Home Depot and I don't
Neiman
know,
Marcus.
whatever the highest, maybe, you know,
Do you mean needless markup?
Yeah.
whatever that is. I'm kind of drawing a blank, but let's say if you're using car analogies, it's either going to be kind of like you got that Ford.
Yeah.
You can kind of go Cadillac, or you can go
Ferrari.
Well, those are costly to buy and maintain. I don't know if I've got a friend who spent 20 grand just after the first, you know, what was it?
I don't know, Lexus?
10,000 miles. Yeah, where you or Bentley, you know, you have this different strata. Let's say Ford, that's probably the best one, is to use like a Bentley because it's a well-built solid car, usually designed for somebody. There's elements in there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you can kind of customize certain things. I own a Mini Cooper, for example. Like we customized everything you could on those, you know, all the different trims and everything. 'Cause
Really?
it
Cool.
individualizes the, you know,
The
experience. Yeah. And it was kind of a clever marketing decision that they made. But when it comes to like that value, if you are budgeting for a Ford, but you're set on that Bentley, there's a huge discrepancy there. And you know, people are saying, well, this is what my budget is, and say, well, then this is where your finishes are going to be. You know, this is what your experience is going to be. If you step up a little bit into this, then it can kind of get you to that. Well, it's no project's the same. No two projects are alike. So we're somewhat guessing, and this is almost like playing shuffleboard into the fog. You know, it's down there somewhere. But am I going to fall off the edge? If I'm going to come up short? What am I going to bump into? Is somebody going to bump me off? That kind of thing. You know, you don't know where it's going to be. So to rely on somebody like us, that's where I'll take that number and say, you know, here's where I think we should be with this, so that we do have a trajectory that's going to get us to where we want to be, and still maybe have a little bit left over for some of your, you know, furnishings or. People often forget about things like, I don't know, sales tax. You know, pass through.
Pesky
10%. So what what are some best practices as far as what adds value to the project? You know, there are certain things, I have my opinions, but there are certain things that tend to bring more value, more return on ROI, basically.
Probably the best resource that we know of is Remodeling Magazine's return. They call it and I've got this posted on our website for the last 7 years. It's the cost versus value report.
Okay.
It's done across the country. It's regional, and then it's by.
I've seen that before.
Yeah, so we have a Seattle metric for that, and then there are about 12 or 15 different projects, anywhere from replacing your entrance door up to a master suite edition, and kitchen and all that stuff is all baked in there. So what they do is they have a dozen different points for reference, and it's with manufacturers, real estate, and all these different things. They just kind of put all these data points together, and they look at what that cost versus value would be. Mm-hmm. So typically the highest cost versus value, or the return on investment,
You break my chair?
I am. Are going to be things like replacing a garage door.
Okay.
It adds energy efficiency, street appeal, those kinds of things. The lowest tend to be things like master bath, because you can put a lot of money into them, but you don't always get the return on that investment.
It's still a bathroom.
It's still a bathroom.
Yeah.
You still do the same functions there, right? So, when you're looking at like how much am I going to get out of what I'm putting in, I'll oftentimes just send that out and I said, well, this is what it was in 2014. I think we're kind of heading in that trajectory with this next calendar year or so, or this is what we think it's going to be based on last year's.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to put you on the spot for 2023.
I have a crystal ball around here somewhere.
Yeah, I know, me too. So what's the real estate market going to do, Troy?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I hear everything you're saying. Troy, I want to get your perspective a little bit on that, because obviously people ask us that same question all the time.
Yeah.
What should I do on my house if I'm getting ready to sell? Mike, you're more in, like, you're staying in your house, so let's...
I'm more perspective to typically I meet people that are, I want to get the most amount of money for my house, and it's, we haven't done any updates to it. And I always, when I'm talking to people, or when I'm in conversations not at the house, I always forget about the garage door. The garage door adds the the biggest value because they're inexpensive.
You're the first person that I've actually ever heard
Yeah,
say
and-
about the garage door.
See, and I pronounce it properly too, don't I?
Oh, sorry, garage?
The garage.
The
I
garage.
say garage.
Garage. So that, and then the entry also, entry doors, that first handshake
Yes.
you have at the entry door handle, kitchens, master bath, those kind of the strata.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we, like I said previous, we do a lot of paint and carpet, just, lipstick type stuff.
Actually, I need to edit that. It's no longer called master bath.
It's
it-
primary.
Primary.
I'm
Yeah.
stuck in my old ways, and
That's
I
okay.
should go to hell for that.
No swearing. It's a family show.
Then I'll go to heck. On the way.
Yes, principal or primary bedroom or bathroom,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so paint and carpet is a really good, like quick fix, if you like. I mean,
Yeah.
it still costs money, but it's one of those projects that people can do relatively easily without a
Yeah.
massive outlay of money. But if we're
There's-
talking a home that is, let's say, from the 1950s and it's not been updated since then with the kitchens and bathrooms, I mean, what's both of your guys' opinion on that?
Depends on where it is.
Yeah, for sure. If
Don't
it's
give me
in,
problems,
Well,
just give me solutions.
okay,
If it's
here's
in
an
Bellevue,
example.
then
Yeah.
as is.
I have an example. There's a house like this. I have a good friend that lives in it, west of Market, Kirkland. Probably the last one that exists. He's been just watching the hockey stick of appreciation going up, and he knows his house is going to get torn down.
Yeah.
What does he do? He comes to me about a month ago, and he goes, maybe 3 months ago now, actually. Sorry, Chris. Then he says, I need a new front door. I said, well, here's the proposal for that. And he goes, okay, let's do it. I was like, oh my God, I thought he was going to say, no, let's go do something else. Because we know that house is just on a piece of land that's desirable for something bigger and better, maximized use. And then you look around the neighborhood and you start going back to what are the styles and layouts that are going to attract the masses. There's every style you can think of there. They've got Mediterranean, they've got modern, they've got some
And
old,
do farmhouse.
it's crazy. So that appeal to the masses is kind of that's why I think it's kind of a misnomer. And then the location, like that house there, easily scratch it, rebuild a new one. But if that same house is out in Duval somewhere, that might be a good opportunity to add on to the side, make it larger, and keep a rambler, because ramblers are hard to find, and
Yeah.
mobility.
If you
is
don't have
becoming
a primary suite or the primary suite's a little hole, little closet, then you would.
or mobility. You go back to this
Oh, for sure.
introduction where you included CGR and CAPS. CGR is Certified Graduate Remodeler. Just means I went
Okay.
through some classes we're not licensed. I mean, remodeling contractors, you fog a mirror, you become a contractor, right? There's no barrier to entry, which is why there's so many different ways to do it. You have people that have either done it forever and then they think they kind of know business and they're kind of making it up as they go, all the way to people that have got a business degree and have never built anything, and they're backing down the other way. So they got this big spectrum.
Right.
So CGR is a way to kind of fill in the gaps for the bottom half of that. And then Certified Aging in Place Specialist. This is for the mobility. And this was 2001. I was in the very first class going through this. And one of the guys said, what number are you? What number of the graduating class are you? And I said, I don't know. Why do you care? And he goes, well, because I got number 1. I'm like, so I tried for number 2, but I got number 4. So anyway, this was the brainchild of NAHB, which is the National Association of Home Builders. One of the leaders was sitting on this plane next to a guy from AARP. And they started talking. They said, hey, AARP has all these people that need mobility, modifications to their homes. NAHB president says, hey, we've got remodelers in our association that do that. And they built this program. So the idea is that we realize that the boomers are getting to a point where they're no longer going to be able to live in their homes. They want to stay there as long as they possibly can. How do we make reduce the barriers to entry, whether it's even, a ramp to the front door, zero threshold showers, primary on the main. And that's why I was thinking that 50s Rambler with
Yeah.
an addition on it could be the better solution for this, where people will pay a premium for it per square foot.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. There's so many things to think about.
By the way, I'm getting some black cherry out of this now.
You are?
Black cherry?
Okay. All right, let's have another little, now
Try
that
it
it's
again.
opened up a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, well, while you guys keep drinking, excuse me, I'll keep working. I think, We definitely hear some horror stories sometimes about how things go with, people taking on these projects in their homes and having builders come in and remodelers come in and do things for them. Can you share with us some examples of circumstances where homeowners should be particularly cautious or strategic when it comes to remodeling? And so what are those kind of common pitfalls that people should avoid?
Yeah, we've developed a list of these we usually send out to people. It's
That's great.
check with L&I to make sure they're registered, and do your interviews and make sure you're picking the right. There's a whole checklist. What's interesting in a market like the one we're just coming out of now is that, well, actually maybe still in it. When interest rates go up and demand goes down, everything kind of goes flat. We're just coming out of a situation now too where there were some regulations that have since been loosened up. They go into effect in July. That builders, even new home builders, who are used to taking large tracts of land and doing 20, 30, 40 units, they're not able to do that. Either their permits are tied up, they can't get the financing for it, they don't have the buyers, whatever the situation, right?
Not that much land left for those big projects anymore.
What I'm getting at here is in this market, builders, either the large ones or even up down to the small custom builder, they're not performing to the levels that they're accustomed to, and so they're going into remodeling. They're entering a space that they probably have very little business being in. It's a different animal. The books are different. The margins are different. I've had people ask me before. They're like, "Would you build us a custom home?" It's like, no, they're too easy. I'd have to retrain my whole staff not to push a broom, or to not let the dog out, or not to cover the grand piano, or whatever. Because when you're building from scratch, you have the whole property to destroy and let be whatever it is.
Right.
When you're working on somebody's home, you can't do that. You have to be cleaning up every day. So they're totally different. And one of the pitfalls is you have, Mrs. Jones. She's just, you interview 3 contractors and you pick one, right? And usually it's based on price, because they're assuming all things are equal. Well, I've figured out in talking to our past customers, like I mentioned earlier in this podcast, that the past, best ideal customers for us are ones that have either appreciate the service we have chosen to perform with us on multiple projects in the same house or multiple houses. And when I go back and ask them, I said, if you could stratify this for me, you look at price, for example, communication, cleanliness, timeliness, security, and there's a 6th one. I'm losing it right now. Too much wine. Too much wine. Too much wine. But you list those out, and I asked him, I said, if you were to rank those from 1 to 6, how would you rank the most important? And usually after the project, communication's number 1. Because they say, we appreciate the way we were communicated with. We didn't realize there were so many things to talk about, and that you kept us up to speed. We really appreciate that.
Yeah.
Second was, quality is the 6th one, I'm sorry. So then they say quality. We didn't know what we were getting into. We thought we were paying a lot, but then now it's worth it.
Yeah.
And then it goes down through, whether, if they have kids, security, cleanliness, those kinds of things. And then price tends to be toward the bottom. You take that information, you go, that's awesome, look at that. Price is not a big factor.
Yeah.
They want all these other things, which we can provide, and we can train our crews to do. Then you talk to a new prospect,
Yeah,
you give them the
price is
exact
number
same
1.
list,
Right.
price is
And
number 1.
Yeah.
And they're like, nah, communication isn't that important, and they put it down to the bottom.
It absolutely is. And turning up on time.
I
would be in
So-
my book.
Mike, you're talking about real estate right now.
I-
About realtors. It's the same thing. After someone goes through a bad experience, they're like, yeah, communication and price is down here at the bottom as far as.
Yeah. Because what they can do is they can justify in their mind that the decision that they made months ago to engage in this service through design, construction, completion, and beyond, through our 2-year warranty program, is that they justify that cost. And they'll justify it to the extent that they'll even award you additional business either through themselves or through a referral. And I call that fee therapy. If you charge them a little bit more than they're comfortable with, they're happy with it, they will ask somebody else to go through the same experience to justify their decision.
Right. Because then it's down to quality.
Right. And it's not that charging more just for the heck of it. We're charging more because we have stuff behind us. We have office space, we have trucks, we have, equipment, we have people that are local, and there's a lot of stuff behind there that raises that
You
overhead.
don't just work out of your truck?
I don't. And this is funny because I'm talking to other contractors.
Yeah.
They're like, oh yeah, we do this much per hour and this much of a markup. And how do you survive like that? Well, I just work out of my office in my truck. It's like,
Yeah, that's the kind of work
So-
you get to.
there's different,
I want to kind of preface that. You say you charge more, but the reality is you might not actually be charging more than some contractors. It's just
our goal is to have a net percent of about 10% at the end of the job. That 10% net profit is what propels us forward. We can invest in our company and continue to
look
grow.
at that for honesty.
Yeah, that's great.
And yeah, we do cost more because we have a little bit more horsepower behind us. But at the end of the day, would you rather take longer?
I'd like it done right.
It's like when your husband did the floor, right? If you were a contractor, you would have fired him in the first week.
Yes, but he was working full time as well as doing the floor. And he'd never tiled the floor before, so.
And for a lot of these contractors, one job's not enough, and two is too many.
Yeah.
So you get left behind. That's when you go like, well, where is
How
this
come
person?
you
Why
haven't
didn't they
shown up?
Yeah.
Because he's
And-
working somebody else's job.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and so we have project managers out in the field. We call them location managers because obviously the
I
theme.
love this.
Yeah.
You're speaking my language with the whole
Yeah.
video and film. And
And the location managers will manage probably up to 3 projects at a time. One goes into drywall, they start another one, and we just dovetail all those. So we're able to schedule our productions that way.
I guess money is a big aspect.
It is. And so,
So it makes the world go round, right?
yeah, I mean, I think the most expensive thing to do is to hire a bad contractor. I mean, that can cost you because you pay for the work once and then you have to pay to have it done again, right?
Right. And Angie's List thought that or not Angie's List, who was the other
They're
one?
now just called Angie's, right?
Who was the other one?
Honeydew.
No, the one that has all the bad, like
Oh, Yelp?
Yelp.
Yeah.
Yelp. So Yelp was initially, I think, set up so that homeowners could have a voice and we could, stratify who's good, who's not, right? Well, it backfired because the ones who are bad are just paying to have good,
Yeah.
positioning. So
Right.
Yeah. I must admit, I don't think I've ever used a Yelp review to look for anything.
No, it usually comes through Woodinville Neighbors.
Well, I would go through Google and Woodinville Neighbours, but yeah, not Yelp, that's for sure.
So we kind of covered this already, but what, talking about significant investments in remodeling, what advice would you give homeowners to ensure they get the best return?
Well, I think finding somebody who's been around the industry as long as I have gives you perspective. What I mean by that is, let's say that you have a growing family. Let's say you have one child, there's another, maybe twins are on the way, and all of a sudden you're looking at this 3-bedroom house going, uh-oh, I'm not going to put all 3 kids in the same bunk room. There's a situation where they may go, I need an addition, and we have to have 2 bedrooms and a bath and all this stuff, and maybe they're on septic, and you go, well, now you're adding closets and you have to change the septic system. What if we were to repackage the house rather than going out? Let's look at rooms that aren't being used, because a lot of times a formal dining room and living room are just, I like the vacuum tracks, and I'm like, I can tell that was vacuumed after your last party, but that was probably 6 months ago. Nobody's set foot in that room. Like, yeah, I know, but we need it, and well, realtors tell you they need it, but they really don't.
I don't.
So we look at how can you repackage the house, perhaps. So maybe you do take a primary suite, put it on the main floor, and now you've got all the bedrooms upstairs would be for the kids,
For
for
the
example,
kids, yeah.
and you take over spaces that aren't being used.
That's a really great way of thinking about it. I mean, we have plenty of rooms in my house, but we repackaged, a couple of the rooms to fit our family and our needs. So one of the big bedrooms became my office, and so now we have 2 offices in my house. My husband works from home, and so do I occasionally.
Yeah.
So I'm like, but I think people miss that point sometimes, that you could look at what you already have and reimagine another way to use it.
Right.
Yeah.
So let's getting back to your question about how to, bring value, and I think that's one way to do it. Another is just to make sure that people have a good sense of that this is the Wild West. I mean, when you step foot into the yellow, well, not the yellow pages, I'm dating myself again.
Yeah. What are yellow pages?
Google
When
reviews.
when you start Googling, remodeling contractor wooden bill, for
Yeah.
example, and whoever pops up, most people kind of filter through the sponsored ones, but then it's like, okay, who's ranked, and do I call just the ones on the first page, or do I talk to my neighbors, or do I go to the chamber, or what are my other outlets? That can be misleading because some people will pay their customers for reviews. We've been pulling teeth trying to get our customers to give us reviews. They love us, but they won't tell the world that.
Well,
They're like,
I'm
nah.
glad I'm not the only one.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and I think once you get to a certain level of sophistication in a customer, they understand the difference, and they're like, you know what, you guys are awesome, but it only goes so far. I'm not willing to stick my neck out there. So whatever that threshold is. The other thing to watch out for is whether it's an open-ended contract or not. A lot of contractors don't know how to estimate, don't know how to budget, they don't take into account design to lead into all of this and to package everything so you know exactly what it's going to be. And so they'll go time and materials. So you go, oh yeah, I can do that for $100,000. And then you're halfway through and their bill comes in at 90 and you're like, well, wait, you're only halfway through, you're at 90,000 already, what's going on?
Yeah.
That would be scary.
Right? And so the difference is we look at it from a stipulated sum contract where we know what it's going to be. We won't break it down. We're not going to tell you what every nail costs. We're not going to tell you even what the flooring costs. But
know that it comes in on budget.
Yeah, this is the total amount. You said you wanted to have a $100,000 design agreement. Let's say we get through all the design, we price it out. Some things are higher, some things are lower than what we had budgeted. But at the end, we're at $106,250.
People can swallow that. They can't swallow an extra 50,000
Right.
or.
And they go, well, can you cut out $6,000? You go, well, do you not want a shower door or mirrors or lights in your bathroom or whatever it is?
Right. Yeah.
So there are some finite, cords to pull and levers to.
Yeah. Again, it comes down to integrity.
Why does everything cost more? Every time I do a bid, it costs more at the end. Come on, Mike.
Just go out and make more, Troy.
Jeez.
If only it was that easy, Mike. All right. We touched on this a little bit earlier, so I'm sure you're going to hate that I'm bringing this one back, but this is something I thoroughly enjoy, and it's kind of the aesthetics of things and current market trends in real estate. I know you're probably going to be like, but design influences the decisions, for homeowners. What are some of those things that people should consider when it comes
What's
to
on the horizon?
trends? Yeah, we're not asking for a crystal ball, but I guess, are there specific trends or design elements that are particularly popular right now? I know you talked about the blue island.
Let's start in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Barrier-free showers. That's
Explain.
where you go from floor right down into
Yeah.
shower without anything to step over.
So
You
no
can
more-
shuffle
no
your
more-
feet in
yeah.
the morning and
No
not
more
have to worry.
hitting that big
Those
toe
are
as you get in.
Yeah, that's been a big one. And then whether you do a center drain, linear drain, if it drains to the back, to the front, there's lots of configurations. And sometimes the house will tell you what it needs to have done, because if it's an I-joist situation, and we can get into this, we can go into lots of different rabbit holes.
Depends on how the joists are run, how you
Yeah.
can do your plumbing.
And you can't cut down into the floor, you have to bring it, anyway, there's lots of different stuff like that. We'll dictate what you have to do to make that work. Shower, like niches, a place in the wall with shelves to put your bottles, and whether they're gonna be Costco size or, we talk about all that stuff.
But those are things that people think about and worry about.
Yeah.
That's part of their daily life, so of course they're going to want that to be right.
Whether or not there's room for a bidet, those have become popular, or the little seats that can go on. So now you're looking at, do I put an outlet behind the toilet?
Yeah.
To future-proof
That,
it.
I see that as being a trend.
Yeah.
You can keep that one.
You don't like those?
No.
Oh, they're wonderful.
Not judging, but I don't have one either.
You don't have one. I just, I've
Kitchens.
used one before.
Kitchens, we're getting into things like refrigerators under the counter, things like that, where you can have the kids participate or not. Maybe it's at the far end of the island where they do their homework when they're younger. That's their little refrigerator for their snacks and stuff.
I love those beverage fridges.
Yeah. Prep counters where you can make them a little bit lower so you can actually roll dough and stuff, or the split islands where you can entertain. Lots of different things like that, but then you have to take into account if there are changes in island height. Now you've taken out that space where you would normally have
For larger things.
For larger things, yeah. So you've segregated the element by putting in two different heights.
I think the moral of this story is you best just ask your builder, your remodeler, Mike.
Yeah,
And what do you put in houses now? I mean, that's, that's...
And some people look at their kitchen and they go, I absolutely love the flow of this. I can do this blindfolded. And you suggest, well, what if we put the dishwasher over there? Because then the sink could be in the center of the window. And they go, I couldn't function that way. Right?
Okay.
Well, because they're used to something different.
They're used to it. And other people would be like, that's a great idea. Yeah, I've always wondered why the dishwasher was on that side, you know? So it's different for everybody. And when it comes to trends, LED lighting is going to be
for sure
continuing.
Like toe kick lighting.
Yeah, there's cool little things like that you can do a lot more of now. Whether it be perimeter glow or even up above crown molding and stuff like that. It's been around, but home automation has kind of struggled to really become prominent in every home. But I think it's on the precipice. When you can come home, push a button, your garage door, opens, and all your lights go the way they're supposed to, and your TV fires up in the fireplace.
We have different scenes in our house. I just talk to Alexa and tell her to turn on a certain scene, and it comes on.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah, Alexa tells me what to do.
Our little spy machine in the house.
Yeah, she's like, go to bed. I'm like, guess it's late.
Yeah.
Other trends would be landscape lighting.
Yeah.
More outdoor living spaces, outdoor kitchens, covered areas, fireplaces outside, just bringing that indoor out. And
Well, I think it increases your feeling of your living space too if you can do that.
For sure.
And a downtrend that we've seen is, you remember back when Street of Dreams was going on?
Yeah.
Every single house had a home theater.
Oh yeah.
They all had
People
a workout
don't want home
room.
theaters now.
No, they're taking out home theaters. They're
Yeah.
putting in additional, suites or something. And workout spaces, kind of a mix. I mean, it used to be,
Right.
I want a whole home gym. Now it's like, at least if I have a treadmill or something, maybe a
Back of the
Peloton.
garage type room.
Yeah.
It's fascinating how things kind of swing and go.
Well,
Actually, hold on just a second.
Sorry.
The swing just
Swing.
reminded me of something else. And this hasn't nothing to do with the swinger part. No, it's
It's a family show.
We have a customer who came to us who said, I really love golf. I have a house in the desert. I play all the time. When I come up here, I go out, but then I can't play all year round. So
Yeah.
I want to get one of those where you have the indoor driving range. And the company name is, I'm not going to promote anybody, but the word swing is in the company of the thing that they provide. So we're building a space around this golf driving range. Has all these sensors, it can track the ball, and Tiger Woods uses it, and a lot of these professional golfers. And it's going to improve the game. Plus, you can play a foursome with 3 other people from around the world if you all have the same system.
That's cool.
So he's all into this. He says, I want to have this thing. I think you need to build it. And his wife was struggling with it. She says, the room you want to put this in is the bonus room over the garage. That's where our grandkids come over, and that's where we let them play. And he goes, hold on. There's 20 different games on this. They can play soccer, badminton, basketball, baseball, all this stuff. You can just hit it into the screen. It'll track it all. And then you can watch movies on it. And it's a big screen, surround sound and everything. And she goes, okay, sold. Let's do it.
Wow.
So from a trend standpoint, I think those are going to become more popular because then the in-home gaming experience, whether you bring your buddies over, or if you just play with somebody around the world, it's just a bigger version of the tablet that kids, the millennials group.
So less of just sitting around watching TV, but having multifunctional media space.
Right.
Okay.
And as far as design trends, a timeline for that, I have my opinion of like 10 to 15 years for design trends. I mean, 10 to 15 years ago, we were going, this granite's great. Now everything's quartz.
Quartz is starting to fall off a little bit. People love the value of it, and the flexibility and everything, but we're starting to see more granite
come back.
And the soapstones and limestones and things like that too.
Is that from a durability standpoint,
Mostly,
do you think?
yeah.
Okay.
And with that manufactured stone, because a quartz is nothing more than acrylic with a bunch of granulars of stuff put in and then just run through into some machine.
Yep.
There's lots of cool stuff. Decton and they're going to hate me for this. They just came in and did a big presentation. There's another one like that, but the way that they're made is they use a lot of this ground up material, and then they pressure it, they roll it, and some of them have boundaries on it where it's like pressured in with resistance on the sides, so the tensile strength is stronger, and others is just rolled out, so the tensile strength has. There's just different things like that, and they're recommended to be used primarily outdoors. So for all these outdoor kitchens, you can't bring a quartz out there because the sun will destroy that that acrylic and make it fade and change colors, and the seams will buckle and the heat and cold and all that. So you really have to be educated on what product to use where.
Yeah.
Another one like that is grout. That's kind of a trend as well. It used to be smallest tiles, the mosaics with a lot of grout. People found that grout would fail, mold, all this stuff. The technology of grout has improved so much that we've gone toward larger tiles and less grout, or even entire walls of
sheets
of panel to get away from grout. But now we could grout it. You could almost use like a mosaic in your shower walls and grout it and seal it, and it'd be fine.
Except who wants to do that? Wipe it on, wipe it off. Wipe it on, wipe it off.
That's it. Ukrainians, they love that stuff. Love you guys.
You just said that on air.
We've got some great tile setters, and that's where they're from.
Yeah. I don't disagree. You're not wrong.
Wow. Okay.
All right. So I think we're wrapping up here. But one last question we'd like to ask this to all of our we'd like to ask this of all of our guests is, being in and around Woodinville, what are some of the favorite things that you like to do? Restaurants, wineries, whatever, businesses.
Parks, could be anything.
Parks,
What's your hidden gems?
Hidden gems.
I've lived in the city limits since '03. And watched some changes come through. Most of them good. I mean, I've been really supportive of the growth and I was raised in Redmond, and by comparison, I think Redmond's done no service to the city in their architecture. It's become a concrete jungle of shadows. So I'm not a big fan of that type of architecture. I think Woodinville is kind of addressing it smartly, keying off the Willows Lodge kind of design, and that we are a little bit more organic and involved with the development of the city. So I'm a fan of that. When it comes to like renovating the old schoolhouse and putting in Crossbuck and Walla Walla, I think that was a really bold move. There's very limited parking. So I love visiting those places. I fear for how they're going to fare long term. I think we need a lot more walking spaces. There's a lot of community here, and I think they want to be part of each other. That 175th is just going to become a bigger and bigger challenge getting through. I do love the hiking trails. Of course, we've got a dog, young boy. Our son's 15. He's playing football, so I've coached some sports with him. We have a boat on Lake Washington. We'll take it up to Canada occasionally and go out and play on the salt. My wife and I were both skiers. We were both on ski patrol for a number of years, and gave that up. Lots of cool stuff. I've been into flying. I've done skydiving, bungee jumping. I mean, I'm kind of an outdoor junkie. Mountain biking, and all that stuff. But the older you get, the more it
Hurts.
hurts. And you go, well, if I can't get up in the morning, that's even a bigger problem.
Yeah,
So,
right.
It sounds like this is the perfect area for you. There's plenty for you to do.
Absolutely.
Right on.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's all we have time for today, but let's just let our listeners know where they can get hold of you, Mike, if they have a project, or even if they just want to kind of check in and see whether the space that they have would work with some kind of changes, or if they just want a consultation. I'm assuming that you are happy to go out and talk to people.
Call Troy. He'll set it up, and then I can. That's the only way we've communicated so far. I've yet to give one back to you. That's one of the problems, actually. Just on a side note, is there's so many realtors around here. How do you differentiate? Because you throw a stick and you hit a realtor.
Yeah, well, the barrier of entry is low to real estate as well, Mike. And so there's as many realtors as there's different practices, business practices. So, starting with interviewing 3 and include us, come up with an educated decision.
Do you know what, just out of curiosity, and for your podcast, have you done this before, where you have illustrated what your differentiation is and what's your target?
Yes, we have.
Because I'm interviewing you now, so to see if I need to refer you before I give them my number so that they can call me before
Well,
I send.
what differentiates is, one, very much community driven. I think that's one of the, not to say that other people aren't, but I think Troy does a really good job of making sure that he interacts with the community and that he's bringing value to the community as a whole. Our concierge services that we offer, I think, stand out. We've talked about those on the show. We try and kind of put them in one at a time so people can really think about what those are.
Yeah.
Do you want to add to that, Troy?
Well, I mean, we just tailor the experience to what your needs are. If you need to just hand me the key and have me take over the project, we know how to do that. If you want to, have your hand held through the whole process, we can do that as well. We have, most realtors don't have behind the scenes people. They're a one-man band, and the amount of hats you have to wear as a realtor is pretty incredible. You got to lead generate, hold open houses, do all that stuff, manage the paperwork behind the scenes, do the marketing. And so we have several people on staff that do that work. And so I can be, your agent and available for you at all times and have great communication. We've got systems and processes in place. They're tough to articulate.
I think we should change it from real estate agent for you to real estate guide.
Guide, yeah.
Well, you definitely have a bigger presence in the community than anyone else that I'm aware of. There were a couple others that used to, but I think, now with your teal jacket everywhere, we see you at all the major events in town.
His big truck.
Yeah, your big truck, and of course your chamber presidency.
Yeah, we love the chamber.
Yeah.
So.
But this is supposed to be about you.
Oh, of course,
Yeah.
of course. So I have a slogan that I
Okay.
came up with. This is probably the second or third that we've employed since my father started the company. And it's turning apprehension into advocacy through performance.
Oh, very good.
What we do is we take apprehensive prospective customers, and they're apprehensive because of everything that we've discussed today.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the
For
Wild
sure.
West out there.
Yeah.
And through performance, we turn them into advocates. And if I can make an advocate out of every customer, then we don't need to do any marketing.
It's
And
so
that's-
true.
And
Yep.
so, turning advocacy
I think I'm going to rip that off.
I think it's been trademarked.
Oh, shoot.
Or at least it will be tomorrow.
And so, to engage with us, tenhulzen.com is our website. By putting in information there on our form, it goes straight into our CRM, and we can contact you. You generally do a phone call first to kind of. I mean, there are people that interview us as much as we're interviewing them, and we just need to make sure it's a good fit. Establish that first objective of making sure that the budget and the realistic expectation for timing and scope of work all align, and then the consultation starts, and we introduce design and kind of roll from there. Everybody does a little bit differently, and our thing is lead with design, make sure everything is designed, packaged into a script, and then perform it accordingly.
Yeah, you did a great job with my clients I referred to you. They were remote, so we had to do a Zoom, and you just went through the process so specifically, and it was easy to digest. So.
And it's interesting you say that, because every one of those that I do is a little different.
Yeah.
Because I key off of the personality I'm talking to. I'm speaking to their listening.
Yeah.
So it doesn't come across canned or prepared in some way. It's as much asking as it is explaining.
Yeah,
Well,
I
you mentioned something right at the beginning, that it's a relationship, and when people you're in their homes, and they can be a little apprehensive about it. I think you have to do it that way. You can't be just like it's a canned script. You've got to connect with them in a different way.
Or we'll just make it happen. It just works. We'll just take care of it.
Yeah,
That's
I would not.
Oh, that makes me
Yeah.
Right.
cringe.
Well, that's where you try to under-promise and over-deliver. And
Yeah.
Over-promise and under-deliver, because, that's...
Well, and telling people no. I mean, I think realtors especially are afraid of telling people no, and I'm happy to tell people no sometimes. It's like, no, that's not in your best interest.
It's because, realtors are, specific. You're very aware that this is pretty much just a legalized extortion. You can charge a percentage for doing nothing. Sorry.
I'm
You can edit that part out. Too.
On that note. All right. Well, what I appreciate is what I've learned today is I thought you just only touched big projects, but it sounds like you will happily help someone figure out their new garage door, however you want to say it, or a front door, or whatever. But
Or their pot lights.
their pot lights.
Pot lights.
Port lights.
Pot lights? No, oh, it's a Canadian term. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to step on your.
No, that's fine.
But,
I'm like-
can-
I thought he was
recessed
talking about
cans?
grow lights there. Just like,
Well, that's what I thought when they first said it.
okay.
Swingers and grill lights. We're just covering it all.
All right. On that note, okay, Mike. Thanks.
And no
very
outlets at the loo.
No outlets.
or in the ceiling. All right. Well, thanks very much for coming in and joining us on the show. Troy,
Yes.
how can people get hold of you if they want to have a consultation about whether they should sell or even buy
Or remodel.
or remodel?
Yeah,
Yep.
for sure. Troy, it's tendhometeam.com is probably the best place. Or you can just Google Troy Anderson Realtor, come right up.
Oh,
206-504-3660.
okay, perfect. And if you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe
Like, subscribe.
and
Porch Matter.
I'm going to like and subscribe right now, actually.
perfect. I like
All
it.
right.
Get your phone out and do that. All right. Well,
Thank you so
thanks.
much for having me on board.
Oh, it
Thanks.
was an absolute pleasure. All right. Till next time, everybody.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Hello, listeners. I have a new go-to place in town, Vaughn's 1000 Spirits. Woodinville, West Valley, just across the street from Janik Winery. Seattle's famous sourdough pizza and pasta. My favorite is their Northwest King salmon pasta. Comes with San Juan Island mushrooms, Sicilian spice, lemon, and cream sauce. Their bar has one of the biggest selections of fine spirits around. Do you know about the Waggering Wheel? Go during happy hour. It's super fun. There's a lively bar, dining room, and a huge patio. Did I mention they won Best Burger in Washington for 2023? Free valet parking daily. Go check them out.